What's up, guys? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. Today we're going to take a look at this water control deck profile that I've been messing around with. It's got some techs in here that are a little bit less used currently, and I'll probably end up cutting them, but for now it's been kind of working. There's just some stuff that doesn't work as well as I'd like, so we'll run through it quick. Here we got 3 Ocean Dragon Lord Kaiser. This is your main like boss monster. He's a lockdown monster, so when he's on the field along with Yumi, your opponent can only control one non-water monster. So against any deck that is not water-based, it means that they can only have one monster on the field at any given time. So kind of like a Kaiser Colosseum type effect, which I always will love. Then we got the triple jellyfish. Electric jellyfish is probably your number 2. So if we can go turn 1, get both of these on board with a Yumi, you got a pretty good lockdown. This can also search a Yumi or legendary ocean in this case, or any equivalent with its second effect, so it's pretty easy. If you can open this and this in your hand, you can get them both on the field pretty easy with Jellyfish's effect. So the main effect that we play him for is when he's on the field as well as Yumi, if a monster or spell effect is activated, you can negate the effect and then it gains 600 attack and defense, and it can do it once every turn, so you can just keep getting bigger and bigger, and then it's like a free negate every single turn, so it's really good. Also, when it's on the field, you can send a Yumi from your deck or hand to the graveyard in order to special summon a water monster from your hand. So if you open both of these and nothing else that you can really use, you can normal summon the jellyfish, pitch the legendary ocean, and then special summon the Kairyushin, and then search the Yumi if you want it, or you can grab one of the other traps depending on whatever else you drew into in that turn 1 hand. Then we've got for one-ofs, Doom Kraken. It's a little hand trap, so you can target one water monster you control, bounce it back to your hand to special summon this guy, and then target one monster your opponent controls and pop it, so a little bit removal. Also, while it's on the field, if your opponent attacks, you can bounce it back to your hand and negate, and then you have it in your hand to use it as a hand trap again in the next turn or whatever. So nice little hand trap, 1 is plenty. And then Mega Fortress Whale. This thing's kind of like your OTK enabler. While it's on the field with the Yumi, it has 2 different effects. On your turn, you can activate its effect to be able to attack directly with all of your monsters, so that's how it enables the OTK. And then on your opponent's turn, in the battle phase, it can pop a monster on the field, so you can just pop something that's going to be a problem. Usually it's getting special summoned in defense mode on your opponent's turn during like main phase 1 or whatever, off of the Dark Reef, and then you would get your pop, hopefully last until the next turn, flip it to attack mode, and then go for some big damage. A couple other cards here. We've got the One Maiden of the Aqua. This thing it's super necessary. It's kind of a crap card, but it's really necessary in this build with the Dark Reefs. So basically when it's on the field, as long as there's no other field spells out, it acts as a Yumi, so you would flip the Dark Reef. You have to send a Yumi you control to the graveyard to activate it. So you would send your Legendary Ocean, and then special summon this and, you know, your Kairyushin or your Mega Fortress Whale or whatever in defense mode, and then you still get all the Yumi effects off of that. As a tech, we play the 1 Tremora. So basically what this is for is it's a level 5, so it's searchable off of Ice Barrier. And how it works is when it's in your hand, you can discard it to special summon a water monster from your hand. So I usually would use it to special summon the Kairyushin if I need to. And you can get the search to get it to your hand if you wanted to burn your normal summon on something else. Which in this deck there aren't really many other ones other than the jellyfish at the moment. You would be able to discard it in order to special summon that Kairyushin from your hand, or whatever other monster, maybe this thing even, whatever you want to special summon. It works okay. My initial thought was to have this in the Cosmoclore, because then you could banish this out of the graveyard to special the Cosmoclore from your deck, which does work. The problem is it doesn't do anything for you. So Cosmoclore is a level 8, 1500 attack, 3000 defense. It can special summon itself as long as you have a field spell, so you don't even necessarily need that. But it doesn't do anything to progress like the control aspect of the deck. So this is probably one of the cards I'll end up cutting. I liked it for a little bit, but I think there's some better stuff. I got the 2 Warrior of Atlantis. It's just a terraforming that searches Yumi specifically, or Legendary Ocean. 2 is plenty. You have plenty of other ways of getting to it. Kairyushin searches it. Jellyfish searches the Kairyushin, I guess, technically, or summons the Kairyushin. So 2 is plenty. I was playing 3 before, and it just got to a point where I was playing 3 of this plus terraforming, the 3 Legendary Oceans, and the Sea Stealth 2. So you're playing so many copies of Yumi that I always could get it, and then you just had nothing else. So this has been working out fine. Then our last two monsters here, we got the Infernal Queen Salmon and the Terror King Salmon. So basically my thought process behind this is the way Infernal Queen works is when it gets summoned, you can special summon this from your hand or deck or graveyard, so it can recycle this technically if you used it for something else. In theory it was great, it does work. Basically what you would end up doing is normal, special, overlay for Bahamut, and then make Toad, which is fine turn one. But I'd really rather this be something that's got a little bit more use than that, because more often than not, I found this in my hand and had no really good way of summoning it. You could use the Tremora, I suppose, to summon it, but also if it got negated, it does nothing for you. So I liked it okay. Like, it worked, it was just kind of subpar. So I'll probably be cutting that and the Tremora to make room for something else. Probably try to fit a Gamma Seal in there. Maybe try out some of those shark cards in the Water Duelist pack that I just haven't played around with yet. For spells, we got Triple Legendary Ocean. That's our Yuumi. We like this better because it reduces all of the monsters in your hands level by 1, and then it boosts all the water monsters' attacks and defenses by 200. So it lets you normal summon your Karyushin without a tribute, as well as any of your other level 5s. It boosts everything up a little bit, so it makes them all kind of like little beaters. So good card. Would not cut it to anything less than 3. Triple Fish Sonar, so this is like a rota for the deck. Adds a level 7 or lower water monster that mentions Yuumi, so that's any of the initial... Yeah, we'll just pull them out and show you. So any of these cards can be searched off of the Fish Sonar here, so a good portion of your monster lineup. On top of that, if the Ocean is on the field or Yuumi is on the field when you activate it, after you search your monster, you can then also special summon your Terror King Salmon or your normal water monster from your deck to the field. So always take advantage of that if you can. And then for our draw power, we got Triple Pot of Prosperity. This is just really good in this deck. Your extra deck is not 100% necessary. I'm getting to a point where it's a lot more useful now, but you can usually get your game one with mostly just main deck monsters and then maybe a few extra deck monsters, so a lot of that extra deck is expendable. And being able to dig 6 deep into your deck allows me to play a little bit lower ratios on some of the traps that I'll show you at the end here, because you're just so capable of digging deep for those kinds of cards that you don't need to overload the ratios on it. I like it a lot. I suppose you could play Extravagance, but the random nature of it can mess you up if you're going to play this type of build where you do rely on the extra deck a little bit. 1C Stealth 2, so that is a Yuumi as well when it's on the field. It also provides protection so your opponent can't target water monsters you control with non-water monster effects. Then at the start of the battle phase, this can special summon one of your water monsters that mentions Yuumi from your graveyard or your water normal monster to defense mode, so probably would put the Mega Fortress Whale out so you can get that pop or whatever, but it comes up, I guess. More often than not, it's just a Yuumi that can protect your monsters from targeting. We play the 2 Foolish Burial Goods. This is just to dump your Ice Barrier trap. We play the Triple Dark Ruler No More because it's a good shutdown card. If we're going second, we want to be able to get our little board set up without being interrupted, so you got to have access to something like this to turn off boards, because interruptions can mess this deck up pretty good, so Dark Ruler does that just fine for us. And then for 1-ofs, we got 1 Call by the Grave. Same as Dark Ruler, interruptions mess us up, so if we can stop a hand trap that would ruin a Jellyfish summon of Karyushin or something, it's great. And then 1 Feather Duster. I could see going to just one or the other and then siding the spare and then making room for another, tech monster option or something else, which I may end up doing. For now, I like the 2 of them just because back row, having to play through a ton of back row going second kind of sucks, so if we have the possibility of outing that, then we're going to take it. And then for traps, we got the 1 Ice Barrier. I like this way better. I was playing 2 and 2. 1 is perfect because you're not going to draw it. Drawing it's fine, it's just now you have to find a way to use it or get it out of your hand, which we don't really play. So you have to set it and use it. And its effect when it's set is that when a battle is declared involving an opponent's monster, you can flip it, that monster's attack becomes 0, and its effects are negated, so it's a good effect, but I'd much rather have its second effect, which is when it's in the graveyard. You can banish it to send a level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then add any water monster from your graveyard to your hand. So turn 1, it's probably a search for Karyushin. Any other turn, it's just a search for whatever piece you may need, or you just send something you don't need out of your deck to get back one of your less than level 5 water monsters out of your graveyard. Like you can get back your warrior to search another legendary ocean, you can get back your jellyfish, anything like that. So great card. Got 2 Sea Stealth Attack. This thing is pretty good in this deck, especially when we've got the double Dark Reef to go along with it. So how these 2 cards will work is we'll actually explain this one first. So what the Dark Reef does is when you flip it face up, you would send a Yuumi you control to the graveyard, special summon 2 water monsters from your deck that either mention Yuumi or are normal water monsters onto your side of the field and face up defense position. Also, if your opponent controls a monster, you also get to special summon a normal water monster from your deck alongside that. So you can potentially get 3 monsters if you haven't used the fish sonar or anything like that yet. It locks you into water monsters, but the whole deck is water monsters anyway. But the reason that pairs well with the Sea Stealth Attack is when Sea Stealth Attack activates, you can activate a Yuumi from your graveyard. So basically you could flip this, send your Yuumi, chain the Sea Stealth, activate the Yuumi, and then your 2 monsters can be, any 2 that aren't Maiden. So if you don't have an option like this to get a Yuumi back on the field, you would have to summon the Maiden plus something else in order to still have access to all your Yuumi effects. If you have this, then you don't have that problem anymore. The Sea Stealth also has 2 additional effects. So once per turn, you can banish a water monster you control until the end phase. So you can move something out of the way of being destroyed or being attacked over if you need to keep control of it. It kind of works like a rescue rabbit almost. And then its second effect is if your water monster with an original level of 5 or higher battles, at the start of the damage step, it destroys that monster, so you don't do damage calculation at all. It just clears that monster, so it's a little bit of removal on top of that. So really, really good card. I suppose you could play it to 1. They're both searchable off of Kairyushin. I like having the 2 because if you accidentally were to draw into one or the other, and then you could search the one with Kairyushin, you have a pretty solid board after that because you can get 3 monsters all with great effects on the field. Probably the Jellyfish, the Kairyushin, and the Fortress Whale, plus a Yuumi on field that make all of their effects live, and it's just a pretty solid board. And then for our last 2 traps, we got double Skill Drain, double Gozen Match. I thought I was going to like this a lot more alongside the Stealth Kraken that we've got here. It is pretty cool because Gozen Match will lock your opponent into 1 attribute of monster, and Stealth Kraken makes everything water, so as soon as they summon something, it becomes water, and now, unless they're playing a water deck, it locks them down. Stealth Kraken also can pop a water monster once per turn, so it does have some good synergy. It's just it doesn't come up as often as I was thinking that it would. So I'll keep playing around with it. I don't know if I want to cut it just yet, but something to consider when you're building the deck yourself. And then the Skill Drain is just a big shut-off card. So if you pretty much wipe a board and set up a big lockdown, and then your opponent activates summon something that could mess up the board you've set, you could just flip your Skill Drain. They'll have to provide removal in order to get out from under that, and your board will be preserved and their board will be essentially shut off more so than it already was previously. So I like the Skill Drain. It's a nice card that this deck can make some decent use out of. And then for the extra deck, we got the one with Starboy. It's pretty much just fodder for prosperity. The one Iria, also kind of just fodder, and then the one Marince's Coral Anemone. There are situations where I would summon these other 2, but just most of the time, if I gotta go, if I got a prosperity going first, these 2 are probably going pretty much right away. But the Anemone is pretty cool. It can special summon a water monster with 1500 or less attack out of your graveyard. So basically, if you end up with 2 jellyfish on the board, you don't really need to. You would link them away for this. Then you would special summon the jellyfish back to this zone. It's got to go to the zone it points to. The reason that's relevant is with Sea Stealth, you could bounce this thing off the board, and then you could put it back, say, next to your jellyfish, and now this zone is open. Then you could special summon another monster there. So some cheeky little plays you can make off of the Anemone. We got the 2 Bahamut Shark and the 2 Toad, just pretty standard for any deck that can make Bahamut Shark at this point. And then we got the 1 Stealth Kraken and the 2 Spawns. These will either go to 1 or 0. This thing I like just because it's got that pop effect, it's got that synergy with Gozen Match. If it dies, it would summon these 2 out of your extra deck. It's just not that useful. I thought it would come up. It doesn't really come up all that much. So these could probably go. But I like the Stealth Kraken. That will stay for sure. We got the 1 101, the 1 Abyss Dweller, the 1 Baguska, just some control cards. Shut down the graveyard, shut down the board, and steal some special summon monsters if you need to. Also can stall if you set it in defense mode. You have that, 2 turns that it can't be destroyed. or if you steal one, it has 1 turn that it can't be destroyed. What I will likely end up doing is making room for the rest of the C101 and the Nash Xyz monsters to go in here, because I like that little ladder. It's pretty cool to be able to play that C101 finally after all these years of it being kind of not that good, so I'll probably make more use of it. And then for our 2/3s, we got the one Nightmare Shark and the one Acid Golem. Acid Golem under Skill Drain just becomes a 3,000 or 3,200 attack beater if you have Legendary Ocean on board, so it's just a big body. And then Nightmare Shark is kind of like another Mega Fortress Whale. If you can't get to yours for whatever reason, you can just summon this, detach 1 to target a water monster you control, and then it can attack directly. So it would be essentially, it's kind of like your Cowboy for Game type of scenario. You would overlay it. If you can't get past whatever monsters they set up, you would activate its effect. Worst case scenario, you target itself, swing for 2,000, and hopefully that's game. But that'll do it for this deck profile this week. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you got some ideas for your own decks. If you like seeing this stuff, like and subscribe. You know all that stuff. Leave a comment down below if you've got comments, suggestions about the deck, anything else. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a few minutes here today. Look at that beautiful ghost rare just hanging out. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Happy deck building. Have a good one.